neither one of us really wanted to pick. I mean, we agreed pretty early on that if we just drew a line through the middle of the site and said, you stay on this side and I'll stay on this side, that neither course would have as much variety as if we kind of mixed it together a little bit. And Bill had done 3 or 4 different routings for 18 holes that it was apparent that you wanted to have holes going across the middle of the site, and you wanted some of that dramatic up and down on both golf courses if you could get it.
It was this evolutionary process of first coming to look at the overall site. Pretty quickly, I think Tom and Ben and I both gravitated to this part of this overall site. And so that's where the most interesting golf is. It's incredible. The neat thing I find about it is that some of the holes that I particularly liked and perhaps saw first on the ground are on his course. Some of the holes that he particularly liked are on our course, and so they were blended together into 2 golf courses with neither of us knowing who's going to do which course.
I mean, one of the cool things for me about it is that once we divided it up, we'd go over and have a look at what the other guy was doing, but we didn't really collaborate on that part. You took the holes that you got and did your best with them. But because we both walked it so much, I had to visualize, okay, if I'm building this course, what do I do with this hole? And I never put all those thoughts down on paper, but the most fun for me was seeing how different he did things on some of those holes than I would have ever thought of doing it. We like to talk about how we try to leave stuff alone and work with the land that's there, and that's certainly true of a lot of this property. But, the details of how you build a green and exactly where you put the bunkers, it really does change completely. And sometimes you draw it one way and then wind up building it a completely different way.
I'm sure some people will come and just look at the bunkers or the landscape and the native grass and say, oh, the 2 courses look alike. When you really start to play them, they don't look or feel anything alike. They're quite different.
We were pretty confident that they would be different.
Right.
While everybody else thinks what we do looks pretty much alike, we really don't. We go to each other's golf courses all the time and go, God, I never would have done that. Both in a good way and a bad way. It's like, some of the coolest holes are like, I never would have thought to do that. Obviously for Florida, it's bigger and more dramatic than anything you're going to find anywhere else. And it's bigger and more dramatic than, that anybody would ever go stack up a bunch of dirt on flat land and try to imitate. I tried to figure out at one point how much earth they must have moved to get this, and I can't, it's like 15 or 20 million cubic yards, so nobody's going to go to Naples and build a course just like this next year.
Tom and Ben and I have all struggled to properly describe this site. You almost cannot do it. You have to see it, be in it, and experience it, and even then, even with people in your business, I imagine it's hard to describe. There are parts of it that, as you said earlier today, remind you of Ireland. There are parts that remind you of Scotland. There are parts that, if you look out across, remind you of the sandhills in Nebraska. And yet, in none of those places do you see dunes and giant ridges and things and lakes. You just don't see it. Close by the sea, you'll see dunes with low areas, dune slack areas that'll get water, particularly in the wet season. But lakes in most dunes, it just doesn't. I've never seen it before anyway.